More than 1,000 people traveled to Jersey City, New Jersey to pay their respects to rookie officer Melvin Santiago. The 23-year-old was killed this week when he was ambushed by a gunman who said he wanted to become famous. But his murder has also exposed the city's underlying tensions there. Now, joining us to talk about what has happened in Jersey City this past week, we have the mayor of North Brunswick, Mayor Mac Womack. He joins our panel now along with Dee Dee and Dr. Bart, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Well, we want to just explain to our audience, because we've got folks from all over the world. Jersey City is a city of about 250,000 people, the second largest city in New Jersey, by the way. And Dr. Bart, you spent a lot of time down there. If you can just kind of explain how you've got this very wealthy area that overlooks Manhattan, and then you sort of have an area that's also, I guess you could say, underprivileged.
Underprivileged, it's multinational. I think there are scores of different languages spoken in Jersey City, all different types of folks. But there's an element in Hudson County, in Jersey City, that I call the thug mentality. And it's typical of other parts of the country as well, other cities, where some of these people actually believe that they're entitled to be a thug and that that's part of their personality makeup. And you saw this in Jersey City when there was actually a little monument to the thug who killed the police officer, which enraged me. But I'm sure that the police know this personality type. But we need a community approach on this. That's what we really need.
Well, and we also want to mention that this man had a weapon, and he said, "I want to become famous," and that's why we will not say his name on this show. Mayor, obviously this has been a very controversial issue. It's hit the national headlines as well. In terms of taking down that memorial, as Dr. Bart spoke of, would you have done the same thing? Because this was memorializing this murderer.
It was inappropriate. It was inappropriate. The killer was killed, and his own family has the right to grieve about that. But to make it a public memorial the way they did, or the way that somebody did on the street, was inappropriate and was wrong and was degrading to the city of Jersey City, and they did the right thing by taking it down.
Now, we've talked a lot about weapons, Dee Dee, and this isn't so much about weapons. I've always, my contention is that a lot of these killers, these folks that get these illegal guns, want to be famous, and they're copycatting a lot of these other people. This guy purposely ambushed this cop.
Well, and I'm sure Dr. Bart can weigh in on this, but he sounds like he was just crazy, you know, because someone's going to do that and then brag about it. He has no respect for human life at all, and of course he went to target a police officer because that would be a big prize. Now that tells you not only a thug mentality, but a mob mentality, a very dangerous situation. Yeah. So, you know, so the good guys, the cops, and others, you know, need to be able to defend themselves, because guys like that are going to find the guns.
And a lot of the things, a lot of folks in Suburbia, Mayor, don't understand. And I think you know that I covered Newark and Jersey City, and I worked with some of the gang units. A lot of people don't realize how much they have infiltrated suburbia life also.
They're there. And the first thing that suburban towns have to do is acknowledge that they're there. And because we're not into first generation of these gangs, we're into second generation, third generation. So it's not just people that are living in certain kinds of conditions that are doing it. We've got gangs that are a part of life, and we've got to be able to deal with them, whether you're in Jersey City or whether you're down in the suburbs out here.
Oh, but certainly when you take a look at something that happened in Jersey City, where the Bloods were very outspoken, because this guy had an affiliation with the Bloods, but we've got MS-13 here, we've got Latin Kings, we've got the Crips, and there's a lot of different things that people don't realize how dangerous it has become in New Jersey and in some of these along the eastern seaboard.
That's true, and we can't solve this with policing by itself. This has to be a community operation where the people in the community are outraged and they don't want these thugs around anymore. And until that happens, and until there's a fully focused effort between the police and the mayors and the officials in the cities, it's not going to work, because these thugs really believe that it's their territory. So this is a new game that we have to play here.
And it wasn't just, I mean, some of the reports down there this week, I'm not sure if you saw the Mayor Dee Dee and Dr. Bard, but they actually had some of the street people and the family members come out and say, I wish he had taken out more people. And there comes to a point to, let's talk about, yeah, you have a right to speak out. Everybody has the right to free speech. is all of a sudden it became, is it irresponsible for the news agencies to air that?
Yeah, because it escalates everything, and people get scared, and then they start to do things maybe they don't want to, and it's just as scary. It's like out of a movie.
And you know who it's unfair to? It's unfair to the people who live in that neighborhood, most of which are going to be law-abiding citizens,
right,
and most of which it does not reflect what they believe. And no matter whether you're there, whether you're here, whether it's the Bloods, Crips, whatever it may be, none of us can put our heads in the sand. We've got to have a full community-wide, statewide, regional-wide approach to it, giving our police officers what they need to protect themselves and to deal with this, but then the rest of us, governmental agencies, social agencies, churches, businesses, we've got to be involved to make sure that the problem doesn't get worse.
And mental health, too. We need to take a look at mental health. Dee Dee mentioned the point that this guy obviously had personality problems. He wanted to kill more police. So we need to take a look at what are we going to do vis-a-vis mental health and crime and guns. Guns in America and mental health. It's still not being addressed properly.
And Mayor, I know that you're a member of the Mayors Against Illegal Guns. If you can just talk about that as well.
I am, and I do think that we do have to have some controls on handguns and the ability of people to get them. But I'm not sure that that is as relevant to this conversation, because these are criminal money-making enterprises that we're talking about in the gangs, and they're going to probably be able to get guns. And so some of the things we're talking about to keep guns out of the hands of mentally ill people and things like that, they may not work as well in this kind of situation. We've got to give our officers what we need. In this case, he took the gun from the security guard in the store and then used it. So, I mean, there is truth in the fact that hardcore bad people are going to find guns and are going to use them. And the message that I'd like to send out, even though I am a member of Mayors Against the Illegal Guns, is that we've got to give our police and the people who are on the streets what they need to defend themselves as we support them as a community.
Mayor, you know this. I mean, I've worked in a municipality. I mean, the funds are tight. So, you need to make sure you have the money for the police officers, especially in communities like that. So you're exactly right. A lot of it comes down to the money.
Officer Santiago was 24, I believe. Yesterday, I had the honor to hire some new police officers in our town of that same age. And when I thought about the responsibility they take on for us, it put a lump in my throat.
Well, and I kind of would like to go back to that family of the man that was the murderer, and say, well, if you ever had a heart attack, you know who's going to come and help you? It's going to be the police and the firemen, and so be careful what you say. But let's talk specifically about some of the things that you've done in your city, and from the education standpoint, and what you're doing to combat some of this gang activity.
Well, the first thing, in every suburban city, property values are a concern of people. Nobody wants to say, you know what, there are some gangs around here. But first of all, you can't put your head in the sand. We have to stand up, acknowledge there are gangs, there are gang activity. You have to make sure your police are properly trained for that, and that then they, along with your Board of Education and the religious and other community social service leaders in town, that you all begin to work together. Because we know why people join gangs, and we know why they're affiliated. And once they're affiliated, it's a law enforcement issue. But to try to break that affiliation and that cycle of people becoming affiliated, it really has to be a full approach that has the law enforcement in the schools before it happens, and in working closely with the people at the family level.
Yeah, if I could just point out that at the city of Richmond, Virginia, they've decreased violent crime dramatically. And how did they do it? Exactly what you're talking about, by a community-wide effort. Not just talking about the police and what they need and what they can do, which is obviously important here, but what the community can do so that we can weed out these thugs and we can put pressure on them to modify their behavior. Well, that's what we need to do.
Let me ask you about a controversial police stop and frisk. Obviously, some police officers strongly believe that they should be able to have stop and frisk, and then obviously some people don't. Just your thoughts on that in trying to bring down the crime activity.
Definitely. I think it worked for Commissioner Kelly in New York Police Department. It brought crime down quite a bit. I mean, because they're being vigilant. They're being police officers. They should be able to, if they see something suspicious, they should be able to stop and frisk.
Mayor?
stop and frisk isn't going to solve the gang problem.
Right.
And so whether stop and frisk is a effective policing policy or not, if you want to get at the gang problem, you've got to go with short sentences, bringing people in. It does nothing to cut the gang situation out. You've got to get to the leadership. You've got to make affiliation with the gang, not financially or emotionally worthwhile for the people involved. So stop and frisk probably won't detect gang members and won't deter gang members in this situation. No, but as a policy as a whole, I defer to other people about whether it's a good policy.
I don't like it as a routine policy. I could see a stop and frisk if an officer really suspects some danger, but as a routine matter, I don't think it works.
Dr. Bart. That's the whole point.
No, in New York, the point was that too many people were stopped and frisked, and it was so many that it became outrageous. That was the problem in New York. But I believe more in community policing.
But isn't that what you're talking about? I mean, you're taking preventative measures.
Stop and frisk is not community policing. Stop and frisk is one measure by itself.
I do want to stick with the gangs, though, because, I mean, that's really what... And one of the things that is certainly one of the biggest issues is that a lot of these gangs, like MS-13, have become even more violent. I mean, it used to be a territorial thing, but now it's got so much to do with drugs.
You don't care if you kill people and murder people. I mean, what do you do?
More power. They feel that they have more power and more control. The more dangerous they are, the more they like it.
They could say there's 3 R's. Respect. The gang members want to have respect. They want to have a reputation, and that's where the violence come in. They're like the old pirates. They want people to think that they're dangerous.
That's
and then
exactly
retribution. Right. If you step on them, then they want to come back after you. And you've got to be able, police officers and our law enforcement community, we've got to be able to stop those 3 R's from being the focus of what people want to achieve in a gang.
Well, we certainly thank you for your insights. Mac Womack, Mayor of North Brunswick, always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to be right back with much more. Microsoft also topped the headlines this week, but not many people are cheering the tech giant's surprise announcement. We'll be back with more on that when we return.